Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back another Japanese deep dive and another test disc, this time for Third Window Films' upcoming release for I Am Baseball, alongside a collection of wonderful short films and brand new special feature interview with the director himself. This is a part of their kind of new adventure they're going into in terms of celebrating and kind of getting the kind of word out there outside of Japan's kind of, restricted kind of market to the West, with upcoming new directors. And this one is a celebration of an upcoming new director that's made a load of short films, about 40 to 15 minutes, give or take. So another sort of short film again with I Am Baseball being around 60 minutes. He did this alongside his other short film previously to kind of make this a kind of a double bill in the cinemas. This one kind of got a lot more attention, which is why I believe this one is the more kind of prominent kind of poster, and the kind of the artwork on the edition is all around this main particular one. This is the director Takashi Ono, which I've never heard of before. In this video, we're talking about I Am Baseball, the 60-minute feature, and the one singular special feature of the director himself, talking about his kind of filmography, his short films. Something to really dive into and explore, and to kind of see his origin points, going from the kind of university scene, him doing independent filmmaking, and now he, according to himself, in terms of the extras and looking at IMDb, he has been doing some more independent films and leading up to a more of a bigger feature film. Special features, as mentioned, you get a brand new interview with the director himself, about 40 odd minutes if I'm not mistaken, talks about his entire filmography in terms of his short films leading him to I Am Baseball, his passion for film and how he got into all of it, and the fact he was born in 1996, the fact he's a little bit younger than me, and he's done some incredible work, and he's really kind of thrown himself out there, and he's talks about the Shogun age, old-fashioned 1960s kind of Japanese cinema, the older movies, and just this idea of, the modern kind of scene is losing some of that energy, and there's a reason why these kind of pristine kind of Japanese films are so well loved and kind of, cherished, and there's just an element of filmmaking in terms of the style, the stock of film, whether it's kind of like film or the actors involved, and he just talks about his experience getting into films and what kind of movies he loves, and talks about a few things that I'm already familiar with and been explored in other. A big shine to him in terms of his growing up and how he viewed movies, and being the fact he met other people in university, became best friends through the art of cinema, made a couple of short films, which he talks about in various details and the origin points, and even some he doesn't know how the idea came about. Some he can't even describe what the film is, which I think is quite funny. All leading up to a more of a major short film, which is about the 40-odd minute marker. You got given an opportunity to basically show this one, I believe it's like a sci-fi one, in the cinemas. He wanted to do a companion piece with it, which is I Am Baseball, which is another 60-minute kind of short film. And being the fact he was getting offers and he was starting to get a bit more attention after leaving university, starting to kind of build up his kind of reputation a little bit. An all-round special feature, I think, is wonderful. I think it's just, it takes me back to my university days. Third Window Films want to celebrate this director and kind of showcase his films to the West. And, great. I think it's fantastic to kind of celebrate upcoming new talent. And I Am Baseball released in 2023, not too long after COVID, I believe. I think he mentioned the extras. This was quite a short kind of, filming window. It didn't take too long to kind of get it done. I think it was more the kind of post-production that took the longest, obviously with the editing and the sound mixing and some of the more creative aspects of the film, where it goes a little bit kind of bonkers a little bit towards the end. I think it's appropriately lengthed for the short film it's meant to be. I think it's any longer, then I think he would have dragged. I think he would have felt the film a little bit more. I think it has just enough material in terms of its idea that it fits that kind of runtime. In fact, the film opens up with this kind of, he dedicates the film to, female audience that love baseball. And being the fact that I've never really watched baseball, I dabbled a little bit in it in terms of my, school days. It's not something that's really a part of the UK audience, really, in terms of the forefront. And I haven't seen Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner. I probably should. And this one I felt was just purely delightful, and it's a very unconventional sports film. It's not like a traditional someone rising through the ranks and getting better, like Rocky type thing. It's a very much a nonsensical kind of borderline dark comedy. It's very, very strange in all-round Japanese fashion. And there's a lot of creativity here. You know, obviously it has limitations in terms of its budget. It has the same kind of locations. However, it's super fun. You know, it has some interesting characters. You know, it has almost like a weird kind of angle where the characters think this is Yakuza, and it's not. It's just like a baseball kind of, you know, scouter. And essentially the idea of the film is, this kind of short film, is that you've got this hardcore legendary status kind of baseballer pro who wants to find the next talent, wants to find the next big one, next big star. He's teaching this guy the ropes and basically giving him the book and showing him how to really build himself up, training every single day, to the point where basically this husband is getting himself in debt to this person and really kind of, you know, suffering in terms of his relationship and just going full force in terms of being a baseball and saying things like, you know, a woman would never understand, and these types of sports are for a kind of male audience kind of thing. And essentially you've got hidden talent between the wife, and the scout recognizes this and wants to challenge it and offers him basically an opportunity. Hey, look, I want you to take it under my wing. I want to train you. I want to give you full support. So I think you could be a pro female baseballer, essentially. Circumstances happen pretty early on where basically the husband dies from an accident from that trainer by hitting the ball straightly into his face, killing him. It's pretty little dark in terms of material there. And, you know, it's weird because he kind of like, he blackmails her and saying, I don't want your body. I want your talent. I want to, you know, build the muscles up. I want to build your brain. And, you know, your husband was in debt to me. So be my kind of, you know, apprentice, be my kind of, you know, student, whatever you want to call it. And we can clear off the debt. And she starts to enjoy it. She starts to get into it. And, you know, it's weird because his angle is basically a sort of like Whiplash, I guess, is the closest comparison I can say it, where he's basically wants to enrage her. He wants to release the fury on him. He wants someone to beat him at his own game, at his own style. And, you know, he's willing to put her through the ropes. And you see that through various kind of montage and different sequences, and she starts to enjoy it. She starts to find things in herself that she never knew, and, you know, she starts to get a bit angry, and things start to take place within it. And the sister-in-law comes in, you know, again, believes it's Yakuza involved, but it's not. It's just an overpassionate fucking, you know, baseballer and a scout. And as to be expected, there's just some very nonsensical things happen in the film, and you get some kind of very strange kind of references and bits of dialogue that doesn't quite gel, and comedy sometimes lands, sometimes it doesn't. You get intermission randomly, I don't know why. You get a slight musical number, you get some CGI kind of, you know, over the top third act sequence. It gets a bit weird, let's just say that. And, you know, the film will gel with you or it won't. It's simple as that. I think it's, for me personally, very delightful, super passionate, very creative. You know, I know barely nothing about, you know, baseball. I don't really know the scene. But in terms of a 60-minute short, in terms of what this director is offering, what he's trying to do with this material, I found it to be quite enjoyable. And I think it was a very fun movie to watch.
やっぱり姉さんはおかしい。それもきっとあの重野とかいう男の仕業だ。
真の野球人太郎の野球が生活であり、生活もまた野球なのだ。
Welcome back from that intermission, and now we've talked about I Am Baseball, the 60-minute short film, the special feature of the director himself, talking about his entire filmography from his short films leading up to I Am Baseball. It is time to check out those 3 additional short films on this edition, which is an all-round package, a celebration of this director, and I think it'd be a good kind of way to kind of close off this video and to dive into all 3. And we've got 3 very unique ones in different lengths. Only one is about 15 minutes, the other 2 are about 40 to 45 minutes, and these various in different quality. These are very much independent-based films. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, talked about this in terms of some university projects. And if the first one is a university project, oh my God, Japan are awesome because they are so creative and they get away with a lot of stuff. I mean, like some of the stuff in these short films, I can understand more if it's independently financed or if it was done him with his bunch of friends and, you know, putting the money together and just getting it done. Just having fun, not having the burdens of a studio demand, or putting yourself out there in terms of an artist and seeing what results come back. Now, his first short film is Office Cleaning Lady, Wet Galaxy, released in 2016, and I believe this is a university project. Basic plot and the storyline for this short film is essentially a married man a teacher, I want to say, kind of forces himself on this woman. It's pretty like, whoa, a little bit. And then they form an affair. They start sleeping with each other. I don't know if it's consensual. I don't know if this is like a bit of Stockholm syndrome. I don't know if the fact that she's young and impressionable. I'm not too sure, but basically she's in love with this married man. He doesn't reciprocate that back. Basically wants to use her and kind of like disregard her. And she's feeling quite down and quite depressed, and she's losing out on her grades. And she realizes like who the married man's wife is, and turns out to be this kind of alien, this very kind of oversized kind of, you know, worm type monster, like spouts out this kind of, you know, stop animation kind of snout. And you get this kind of really because raunchy sequence, like sex sequence with this kind of like very kind of, you know, cardboard box alien. Yeah, it's pretty out there. And essentially the married man is married to this alien from another galaxy. And essentially, if they're caught cheating, the wife is allowed in their laws to take revenge on the person that cheated, whether it's the man or the woman. So gets herself out of a rut. She starts to train herself with this kind of like jiu-jitsu guy, and it leads into one thing or another, and it gets a bit kind of crazy and a bit weird. And yeah, it's quite creative. It's very fun. It's not the best story, if I'm being completely honest. It reminds me of that Kim Basinger film with the My Stepmom is an Alien. Maybe that's kind of the riff they're going off. It's charming. It's a bit of fun. It's definitely very amateurish. It's not the most polished film, but, you know, it's definitely got a cool extra to watch on the edition. Next one up is 2017's Fashion Runner, which is about a 9-minute short, I believe, 10 minutes, give or take. Not much to say about this one. Very much an experimental piece that's not really got much of a story. It's about obviously these kind of fashion women. There's some pretty weird ideas in there. There's obviously some experimental kind of play in terms of umbrellas, and playing around with editing and kind of, you know, Foley work, and some stylizing on shots. I think this one, in terms of Fashion Runner, I think it's just a kind of on the fly. Maybe get this done within a kind of couple of days. Let's kind of see what we have. Let's see what we can put of piece together and kind of post-production, and, you know, just experiment with kind of the camera work and the kind of the editing, the lighting. See what works, see what doesn't work, and kind of use this into greater effect within the later movies that he would do within the follow-up one. And the final short film on this edition is Pick It Up and Throw It Away, released in 2019. This was a companion piece with I Am Baseball, which I believe was released a couple of years after. So this was the signature first two short films that kind of got him a lot of attention and got him a lot of kind of praise within critics, and obviously leading him to do more of a bigger entry films later on. I think he's got a football film coming up soon. And this one is a much more realized, much more stronger kind of vision compared to the first two short films, and definitely falls pretty close to I Am Baseball. I would say if I Am Baseball is an even stronger version of this in terms of the cinematography, the editing, the structure of the film, this one definitely leads up to that quite well. And in some way, I actually do think this is actually better. I actually quite enjoyed this one. I say a little bit more than I would say I Am Baseball. Taking a very simple premise like picking up trash or a baseball kind of pro, and just kind of flipping itself and doing something quite absurd and so surreal. It makes it quite entertaining for both kind of parties. And with this one, in terms of the short film, Pick It Up and Throw It Away, I think is great. I think it's actually quite fun for about a 45-minute short. I actually quite enjoyed my time with this, being the fact it does go the extra mile. It does get quite absurd and get kind of like bonkers in terms of its idea. And a woman a bit kind of down, someone doesn't have much going on in her life, and she kind of joins up with this kind of volunteer group. I believe it's called like the Tokyo Greens, if I'm not mistaken, and they basically are a volunteer trash pickup group, and they're all very friendly, and they say, look, we want to make, you know, Japan great again, and we want to clean up the trash, and we're going to pick up this up, and join this group. And she starts to get really enthusiastic about helping the local community, picking up trash. And what's interesting is that they take this very seriously, and this is very much a kind of like a non-profit, you're not getting paid for it, but it is a community, it's a group. And essentially they're going against this kind of local gang. I want to say Yakuza. It might be not. And they're starting to kind of piss them off, and they're throwing rubbish all over the floor, and they're deliberately trashing the locations they're kind of organizing and cleaning up, and essentially gets to a kind of a breaking point where enough is enough. And it starts to get quite violent, where basically this group of volunteer kind of trash pickups are taking it so seriously, the fact they're kind of going against this kind of like local Yakuza gang, and to the point where actually killing them. And it gets more weirder as the film goes along, because the main character of the film has a mental breakdown, and basically stuff happens with her within her past, and she ends up in kind of I want to say a hospital, or maybe a mental ward, and basically there's this idea of, she is so good at picking up trash. She's got talent. She's got hidden talent, and they give her like therapy to her to not pick up trash and to be like a normal person, to not pick up trash. It's so fucking funny. It's like I get what this film is trying to go for. Cheap kind of like battle sequences, and it starts to get a bit more crazier with them having like bazookas and kind of assault rifles, and it gets pretty wild towards the third act. Obviously, it's still relatively quite amateurish and cheap, but it has a flavor, has a kind of a style, and it has some creative ideas. Definitely something that's been picked up from the previous two short films, recognized again in this one, especially with the umbrella. He seems to like using that kind of visual kind of aid, even with I Am Baseball. It's the same kind of thing as well. So that's been my thoughts and impressions on this entire edition from Third Window Films. What are your thoughts and impressions on the short films? The I Am Baseball, the main signature short film in this edition, the extra special features. We'll be picking up this edition on Blu-ray soon. We'd love to know your thoughts and impressions. Please comment down below. So in the meantime, guys, I'm for reviews. Signing out.